special night for this reception. If you haven't heard, we've learned that Father Nelson Baker is closer to sainthood. We reported tonight the recovery of a young Hamburg teen who had bacterial meningitis after being touched by a rosary of Father Baker has recovered miraculously And so that is Father Baker's second miracle, and so he is one step closer to canonization. So we were very glad about that. Let's give that a round of applause. For more information, tune in to Channel 2 tonight. Sorry, very waiting period. But back to tonight, I want to thank you all for coming here this evening and supporting this wonderful event. Baker Victory Services provides many services to children in this area, children with special needs, unwed, pregnant mothers, and many, many others. You have helped more than 1,000 children and their families receive services daily and more than 2,500 annually. I want to thank you all for that and appearing tonight and continuing your support. At this time, I'd like to introduce Steve Szymanski of Merrill Lynch, one of tonight's event chairmen and presenting sponsor of the event. Steve?
Thank you. Thank you, President. Welcome. Welcome, Bishop Ansel, Senior Works, Father John Drexel, and all of us here, friends of Father Baker, friends of the cause, believers in the cause. Let's lift a glass for 20 years of success of the Father Baker Youth Awards reception. Of course, it goes back many, many more years than that. And we're all privileged, really, to be a part of the inspiration and the dream of Father Nelson Baker. It lives on through all of us that believe and continue to support that dream. Hear him.
Who walks in Father Baker's footsteps as head of the OLB institutions. Monsignor?
Thank you, Victoria. Bishop Manzel, welcome. Father John, you have come to Western New York. Although you were born down in Rochester, we don't consider that part of Western New York. You know, that's like being a New Yorker, John. They come and then they become adopted, see? We're good at this adopting of bishops. And today we're all very, very much aware of that name because of the announcement made by Bishop Manzel earlier today at a press conference. And as you all know, we have been striving for a number of years to bring about Father Baker's canonization to sainthood. And Bishop Manzel has really given, since his time here in Buffalo, a tremendous, tremendous impetus to this cause and to this work. And we are most grateful. And it is without further ado and with great pleasure, I humbly ask the Bishop of Buffalo, an adopted son of Buffalo.
I agree with all your nouns and all your verbs and all your adjectives. When it comes to the adverb, though, humbly, I might be a bit upset about the phrase you use in terms of adoption, except that adoption, because of Father Nelson Baker and Baker Victory Services and the wonders of grace that are the story of Lady of Victory, homes of charity, and charitable institutions, I'm honored to be considered adopted here in Western New York. I'm very, very grateful to be here with all of you in this hallowed place, and particularly today as we see another more than wonder of grace. It would appear that we truly have another miracle. I think there are probably many miracles that can be attributed to Father Baker. We just have to get more of the stories. But to see, as I saw, the young man admitted to the hospital August 19th, 17 years of age, bleeding profusely from his nose, from his eyes, from his ears, from various parts of his body. Then to see his fingers, his hands, his toes, his feet, his ear, his chest, other parts of his body go purple and then coal black. And the doctors all saying he's going to die. And if he doesn't die, he'll have multiple amputations. It happens that he's a musician, and his mother was saying if he ever comes to and he realizes he doesn't have his hands, he'll want to kill himself. So the prognosis was the most pessimistic. The doctor said it's just a matter of a short period of time. And then immediately the family began praying to Father Baker, with Father Baker's rosary on his chest, prayer card of Father Baker on the bed, the relics at the top of the bed, and within 72 hours, the color started to yield from coal black to purple, to the point that his hands came back this color. His feet still were coal black, but even they changed, and now the story is that he's home after lengthy hospitalization. In 72 hours, the color came back to normal. He's doing home schoolwork at home. He's been on dialysis. As of this afternoon, it looks like he'll be going off the dialysis in a matter of days. The doctors, the nurses all say there's no natural, scientific, medical explanation for this phenomenon. Truly a miracle. So it's an exciting story, a wonderful story for all of us in Western New York, especially for Our Lady of Victory, Homes of Charity, and for all who support the wonders of grace that continue to this day and go forward. And we celebrate Monsignor Wirtz for all of his adverbs. He is a wonder of grace, a tremendous leader, of president of Baker Victory Services, pastor of Our Lady of Victory Parish. The institutions themselves are the size of a diocese. And so grateful too to the Chief Executive Officer, Jim Cashins, and Chief Operating Officer, Joe Coso, for the tremendously high quality, professionally recognized peers across the country, indeed across the world, for the services they continue to provide, all in the name of this hallowed priest who's going to bring people here from all over Western New York, from the United States, from Canada, from all over the world. And we're going to see a brighter world for all of Lackawanna and Western New York in the coming years of the 21st century. I don't want to anticipate, but we're so fortunate to have Father John Drexel here this evening, himself a great hero, truly in the line of wonders of grace, serving impoverished, abandoned children in the favelas, in the slums of Rio de Janeiro, Sao Paulo, Brazil, his own life at risk because he defends the basic and radical rights of young people who are abandoned and abused. And so we are honored again tonight in this atmosphere of spirit, of this atmosphere of grace, and privilege to be part of this, to honor a wonderful priest, and to honor all who in so many different ways support these miracles of grace, support the Baker Victory Services. Thank you all so very much.
I'd like to ask Monsignor Bob Wirtz to hold the award for me. Thank you. As our dear Bishop Henry Mansell mentioned, he didn't like adverbs, so I feel very humbled, not humbly. I feel very humbled to be here receiving this award. But certainly the Association Mariana Drexel and the other associations that we work with street children in defense of human rights for children and adolescents, especially children who are vice and crack, it's a real honor for them. And sometimes we wonder why we only choose one person to receive an honor, an award, when one person alone doesn't exist. If he doesn't have a true team, if he doesn't have a true community, his work becomes very weak and very insignificant. And that's why today, more than ever, we believe in a community spirit, in a team spirit, which creates a charism, a real spirit, a real philosophy of love, of sharing, of discovering who we are by knowing other people. I had the privilege during these days to take several tours, and I was more than impressed by Jeff, who was my leader, my guide tour. And we visited all the programs that our Victoria mentioned. And I was highly impressed because every program that we visited, if it be the child daycare, if it be the medical center, the dental center, if it be the cottages, if it be Father Baker's Hall, if it be the adoption program, if it be the program that follows and accompanies the families of the children who are sometimes emotionally disturbed, if it be an unbelievable project with teenage mothers, and all the other programs, all of a sudden you discover that Father Nelson Baker is present. And he's present because the people who work in these programs are three basic characters in life. They have an unbelievable passion for a cause. And secondly, they have a dream. And thirdly, they're a realist. Because if we aren't realists and have our feet on the ground, the dream really doesn't happen. And you can have all kind of passion and love, and it's not worth too much because it fizzles out like a champagne we just finished drinking. And during this tour of about 5 hours, one discovered that Father Nelson Baker's program for Services for Youth has many things in common with our very small project in Brazil, the Marie Helen Drex Association Homes for the Abandoned and Impoverished, Children at Risk, the work that we do with street educators, the Center for Defense of Rights, Human Rights for Children and Adolescents. It's very small, but the same accent is present. As we say in Portuguese, the same sotaque is present. The same spirit, the same charism. And we have to make a choice. And I felt Jeff, and Beth, and Rick, and Tom, and Steve, and Hank, and Joe, and Lou, and everybody that was at the table many times, you know, they dined me and wined me. So much so that I was afraid I wasn't going to get here this year. And poor Monsignor Bob Wertschit came up to me and said, "Gee, I'm sorry, John, we couldn't be with you." And I says, "But you were there in spirit." Because after the third and fourth drink, we said, "Monsignor Bob." So your spirit was reincarnated several times. Lunch, dinner, lunch, dinner, lunch, dinner. And when I discovered these programs in the same spirit of our SMART project in Brazil, because we have to make a decision. Do we work with numbers, quantity, or do we work with quality? Do we work with professionals, or do we work with amateurs? Do we work with efficiency, or do we work with, well, it might happen, it might not happen? Do we work with the spirit of knowing each individual, who he is, where he is, and what are his necessities? And that's what I found in common as we tried to walk in the footsteps of Father Nelson Baker. And we tried to imagine what he would say today. In 1936, he left this planet Earth, and I'm sure he's very present here. And I'm sure he would say the same words that many times we're thinking now. It was really worthwhile, because the spirit, the charism, the philosophy of what I believed in continued. And all of a sudden, maybe he would be here and saying in a very, much more elegant voice than mine in a way. He probably would say, "You know, my friends, Shakespeare once said, to be or not to be is the question. But what I say to you today, love or not love, that is our survival." And as I had the great privilege of concelebrating with Father Matt, who's here, Monsignor John, in the Basilica. And Bishop, as I looked at the Basilica, I have to admit, in 68 years of my life here on planet Earth, I never visited the Basilica. I never visited Lackawanna. I never visited Hamburg. And that's why I was so impressed when Monsignor Robert Wirtz said, you know, oh, Rochester. You know, he forgets that the little city of Sao Paulo is only 10 million people. But I appreciate your comments. Bishop, what impressed me is the Basilica. When you look at the Basilica, first of all, you can't believe that it was constructed in 5 years, from 1931 to 1936. It was inaugurated in May of 1936. You can't believe afterwards that a man in 5 years constructed this Basilica. And all of a sudden I start to compare the Basilica with the other programs. And you know what I felt? I felt that his programs that he began with the orphanage, with the protector, the administration building now, that glows and lives the same spirit of cooperation and dedication and love. The Basilica is an art, it's a work of art, and a work of miraculous love. And it's exactly a mirrored image of who Father Nelson Baker was and is and will be. Just to finish, on Senior John, the first Mass that I kind of celebrated with him, Bishop, I don't think he realizes how much he impacted me. He shared about All Saints, and he came out with a phrase that I hope Monsignor Robert Words tells him. It really knocked me over. And I've been thinking about that since Wednesday. He said, if you have a friend, first of all, you have to be a friend. And I think that's what life is all about. Thank you very much.